Hello guys, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. Today's video is actually different from what we've been doing. You know, we code in C#, right? And the base language that, or the back-end language that we have been using in our Blazor applications, there are some slight features or changes, and that is what I want to talk about them. So this video series is going to be some features in the C# language, because you know, if you're able to, or if you can be able to create a nice application, not talking about the design, the front end, talking about the back end, the actual code. If you're coding in C#, then you have to know the basic features or the update for the C#, so you won't be using the outmoded or the archaic code. C# is growing faster and faster and becoming one of the most fashionable language. So if you are a .NET or C# programmer, then you are on the right course. Now let's see, this video is going to be actually some videos, and the playlist that I've given the name of the playlist here, it is C# highlights. Do you actually know the current version of C#? Starting from C# version 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And as I speak, C# version 12. That is the preview one. So with all this, we have some features in them. And that is what we're going to talk about them. This video, we're going to talk about only one. Okay. So let's see what I was talking about. Now, you can see from here, we have C#. I have actually the document of the C# language here. Now you can see these are the versions. We have 12, that's the preview one. We have 11, 10, 9. We have 7, 6, and below. Now all these, in any version, there's new features. C# community try to make some code simple for us to use and skip the old long type. So let's talk about one. And what we're going to talk about today is Immutable Collection or Immutability. Immutable Collection or Immutability. So what actually is Immutable Collection or Immutability? So as you can see, I have a sample from the C# documentary. The details or the meaning or definition is over here. But if you want to get data from the database or from an API, I believe you always want to get the original data. You don't want to get a data whereby the data is different from what is found in the database. So you want to get the original data from database and have access to the current one. When using immutability or immutable collection, you can set a restriction to the data coming from database, so that no one can change the data from the database. Let's assume we are getting a list of data from database. Now you know that the list, I can decide to get the list, change some of the list by using add. I can remove, and I can change a new list and add a new list at all. Okay, so when that happens, the originality of that data, it is not there, because if you compare the data that you just you have gotten from the database to the original one, it is different because it has been modified here. We don't want to do that. You want to skip the modification. You want to set it as read only. So how can we do it? Let's see, by using this immutability or this immutable collection. How can we do that in this new feature of C#? Now, this a feature from the C# version 9. I think so. That's the version 9. Because if I scroll up here, you can see we have the version on top, and I think that is a version 9. So this immutable collection or immutability is found in the C# version 9, and it is very useful as well. You know, for the sake of this, for us to understand this properly, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a console application, not Blazor. Maybe later on we're going to transfer what we have with the console to a Blazor app. Okay, but for now, let's concentrate on this to understand it actually. Now let's read from here what immutability is. So a record type, it is not necessarily immutable. You can declare properties with set accessors and fields that aren't read-only. But whilst records can be mutable, they make it easier to create immutable data models. So properties that you create by using positional syntax are immutable. Now take note here, immutability can be useful when you want a data-centric type to be thread safe. So if you want it to be safe, or a hash code to remain the same as in the hash table. So if you want the data to remain the same as from the source table, then it's advisable you use the immutability. So it can prevent bugs that happen when you pass an argument by referencing to a method, and the method unexpectedly changes the argument values. Okay, so here it prevents or it keeps the originality of the data. Let's have an example of this, and you're going to understand this and how to use this immutable collection. So I have created a console app. When you go to Solution Explorer, you can say I have a console app 1, and if you don't know how to create it, you can see you have to go to File, then New Project, then search for a console app, then create it. Very simple. Now if I run this, let's go to the syntax first, the code first. So here you can see that I am using the namespace, and the name here is for Immutable Collection. Now I have a class. Now this is a parent class. So this class contains the data, that is the static method or the main method, and also the declaration of the list variables and the dictionary. I have two methods here. So we have static, list, and that's the integer, so list of integers. And now the name of the list of integers is what? List of numbers. So these are the numbers here. I believe with the basic knowledge in Blazor, the C# as well, you know, this is a list of what numbers, and that's an integer. Also we have a dictionary. Now dictionary contains a key and a value. These ones are the key, and these ones are the value. The first one is the key, second one here is the value. So key and the value, and that is exactly what we can see from here. So key 10, its value is 10. 100, its value is 100. 40, its value is 40. 50, 50, 75, 75. So these are the static declaration that you have, static variables as a list and dictionary over here. Okay, now in our async method, we have created, or we have overridden the tags here. So as you can see, list of numbers, and that is over here. So instead of these numbers, we've tried to overwrite it over here. Now you can see instead of 10, we say 1. 100, we say 2. 40, we say 4. 50, we say 5. 19, we say 6, up to 9, right? So, and as you can see from here, we are also adding 200. We are adding what? 500. We are removing 100. We are removing 470. So it's like this list that we have here, we have modified the list. And this list here is not in the database. This list comes from database, but while this is not. So when you do this, it means the originality of the data here has been broken. Okay, now let's skip this. So I want us to comment this and also comment this. So let's comment the two here. Control K, Control C. That is a comment, or you can just use this to comment it. Now here we are printing each number in the list of numbers on the screen. So we are going to use a for loop, and here we are going to write to the console that is I, and I will delay, so 500 milliseconds. And also there is a new line, and we are going to just loop through the dictionary number here, and we're going to specify the key and the value. So that is the key and that is the value. We delay 500. Now let's save this. Let's run it. So let's run it and see what happens here. So it is building, as you can see from the status. Build started, and as you can see from this icon. So we wait for this to build, then it's going to run. So we say from 15, 19, 470, 200. Now we see it is just looping through the numbers, and we have. So if you check the number that we have here, you will see it is the same as what we have. So 10 up to 200, that is 10 up to 200. The key values are 10 up to 75, and that's exactly what we have here, 10 up to 75. Okay, good. Now let's see. So instead of looping to this data, now let's uncomment this. So Control K, Control U. Now let's save this. Let's run again and see if we're going to have the first one. We're going to have the overridden one. You can see we are having the overridden one. Now 7, 8, 9. You can see 200 and 500. Now this 200 and 500 is what we added here, and then we are moving 100 and 470. The same thing applies to this. Now instead of removing looping to the 10, 10, 20, 20, because we have 1, 1, 2, 2, 5, 5, and 6, 6. So you see, now this is what we want to skip. So we don't want any kind of modification here. You want to keep the original or the originality of the data coming from the database. So we assume the list here, it is coming from the database. So how can you prevent this? How can you prevent this from this attack? How can we do that? That is what we're going to take a look. We're going to use 3 sections or 3 features to do that. Okay, these are under the immutability. So the first one that we can do here is, I know you know it already, as we can use a read only. So here you can use what? Read only. And now if I check this, you can pass read only here. So static, we can say read only. So it means here, anytime that you call this list of numbers, it is read only. But you can see from here, if I decide to override it here, it has problem here. So it tells you that a static read only cannot be assigned to, except in a static constructor or a variable initializer. So here it is not working. So let's set this. So this is read only. Okay, so let's comment this. But if you check this one, these are also working. Although we have read only, but these are working. Now let's see. So I've commented this. Let's set this also to read only. So this is read only. Now let's see. So this is also working, right? So we comment this, and that's also read only. Okay, but let's see. So we've used read only here. Let's save this, run this application, and let's see the output here. You can see it is here 10, 40, 19, 200, right? And it's looping through this. But as you can see from here, 200 has been added. Now this is up to 75. But if you check here, this is up to 75. You can see 5, 6 has been added. And now this is up to 200. But 200 and 500 has been added here. 200 and 500 has been added. And here 3 and 4, okay, 5 and 6 has also been added. Although we are using read only. So this means that when you use read only here, it affects only when you decide to set it as a new list. But if you decide to add to the already created list, it doesn't affect it. It's still going to work. So our protecting mechanism, it is not actually working 100% fully. So we have to set in a new way. Aside from using read only, we can also use immutable list. Okay, so how do you do that? Let's set there, instead of this list, you want to use immutable list. So immutable list. So it's a list of integer. Now in here, let's convert this to immutable list. Now as soon as we do that using the immutable list, let's see. Here, if I decide to set list of numbers, so let's see. So list of numbers, I'm going to use the array. Okay, so this is 0, this is 1. So I'm going to say 0 is equal to here is 100, so I'm going to use 1000. Now without using this, let me just first clear this off and see the output here. So I'm going to clear this off. Okay, now let's run this. So you see we are setting this 0, so that's a 10 to 1000. So we're going to have 1000 and 100. Let's save this. Let's run and see what we have now. So you can see we have 1000 first, 1040. So you can see it has skipped this 10 and this 100. We have 1040, right? The reason why it is, like we see here, we are removing 100 from this. So if you decide to comment this, save, and run this again, you're going to have from 1000, 140 up to the rest. So you can see that there is an array and we can still set it. Alright, so let's see what we can do. So let's bring the immutable. Now see what happens here. So this, it is saying that a property or indexer immutable list cannot be assigned. It is read only. So this is also working, and that is coming from what? So immutable. So that is immutable list. But aside from setting this immutable list and to this immutable list, see what happens. We can still add, we can still remove. Now let's run this. So let's set this also to immutable dictionary. Okay, so we have also immutable dictionary. So immutable dictionary, and you will see it is also working here. Now let's see what we can do as well to grab all these. So new immutable dictionary, you can just put this here. Okay, so you have new immutable dictionary. So you can see we've applied this immutable dictionary, but here it is not actually working here. So let's set this back to the dictionary here, and let's set this to dictionary. Okay, so now we have this, and when we run this, we are still going to have the same thing, right? Okay, so this is what we're going to do next. Now whilst we have this, let's see the next one that we can use to protect it from this adding to the list is by using read-only list. So here, instead of using this read-only, this immutable list, we are going to use read-only. So let's use read-only. So read-only list. Okay, then we are going to remove this to mutable list. Let's remove this. Okay, so now there's an read-only list. Now as soon as I do that, see what happens here. So we can say I have does not, so this list does not define or definition for add and no accessible extension method add. Okay, so as you can see, it has a problem here, and that's the same thing applies to this. So it means that here none of this is going to work. So we're going to copy this. Let's comment this, Control K and C. We comment this, and now here we're going to use read only. Yeah, only list. The same thing applies to this dictionary. Dictionary also has read only dictionary. So read only dictionary, and it's also there. So let's use this read only dictionary. Now, as soon as we do that, we see we have also these errors here, and the same thing that they say, they do not accept that. They are not compatible. So Control K and C, we comment them. Okay, now let's run it and see. Control K, save, and now let's run and see what we're going to have now. So we see it is printing the original value from the list that we created. So supposedly we say that this data is coming from database, then no one can tackle or this or can modify this in the course of getting it from the database or from the API. So we say this is very good, it's interesting. So remember to use a static read only list to list values whereby you don't want the value to get changed in the course. When you're reading from database, you can use this to get the data from database straight. I hope this is simple. Yeah, so that is it for this video. Now, if you want me to continue on with this C# latest highlights, you can give me a thumbs up, and also let me know. Okay, if you have any issue as well, let us know, and we might be of help. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, I'm going to catch you up in the next, maybe a next feature. Yeah, because we have some that we need to talk about them. See you.